All right, welcome to the Borrowed Bestseller Campaign training. This is an extremely exciting campaign model. Been super excited to record this and to share this. This is a campaign model that has been used by some of the biggest direct response companies in the world. This can be used in virtually any niche for any product, regardless of the price point that you are selling at. Borrowed bestseller is kind of just a cool name that I came up with, the idea of borrowing. You'll understand what that means in just a couple minutes. The essence of this campaign, this is an ultra simple campaign. Like, I want you to pay attention as I go through this training of how simple this is to actually execute. This is a very short campaign. There are really two core pages, 4 total pages in the entire campaign. And this is the kind of thing that can be set up and generating new customers for you in a matter of just a few days. At the foundation of the borrowed bestseller, what we're really talking about here is how to borrow other experts' bestsellers and use their bestsellers, their work, their effort, their energy to acquire your own customers while you keep every dollar and you get new buyers. And so I'm not talking about an affiliate relationship. I'm not talking about a joint venture relationship. You don't need any special hookup or connections or relationships or anything like that. At the root, this is simply borrowing somebody else's bestseller and using their bestseller to acquire your own customers. So at the root of this campaign, as you'll see in just a second, yes, is a book campaign. Some people would say a book funnel. However, how this is vastly different from what everybody else is talking about is that here, you don't have to have your own book. So forget the idea of, right? Forget the idea of not even having to write your own book, right? There are a lot of people that say, here's how to have your own book funnel. You don't have to write a word. And then what they talk about is transcribing an audio, working with somebody to do all that. I'm not even talking about any of that. This is a book campaign, but this is about using somebody else's book in order to acquire your own customers. And you'll understand there's some insanely powerful nuance here to executing this the right way that you're going to see in just a bit. Now, I started to really notice this a number of years ago when I started getting direct mail packages that had these different inserts in them. And the inserts were usually offering some sort of free book when you took a subscription to a newsletter or a subscription to a magazine. And I started noticing this more and more, how these different magazines, these different direct response companies were using these little inserts. I saw this one for, Ben Carson. I saw this, for Dr. Amen for Alzheimer's, right? They were giving away a copy of a book in exchange for getting somebody to subscribe to a newsletter. And I even saw them using, this was one of the most popular ones for my gosh, for such a long time. They were using Wheat Belly, which at the time was selling like hotcakes, and they were giving it to folks for $4.95 when they took a subscription to really what is a right-wing conservative political magazine. So imagine this, right? That they're offering a health book in exchange for, for $4.95 when somebody takes advantage of their political magazine. And so totally, almost to some extent, totally, not congruent in any way. But I saw this month after month after month after month. And I saw it in so many different kind of niches and markets being used. There's another one, the simple heart cure. And then, of course, I started noticing, after I had been getting these things offline in direct mail for an extended period of time, then I started to notice the same thing being done online, and being done online by tremendous direct response companies, companies like Newsmax, companies like Agora, and on and on. This was one actually that Agora used. Of course, they used it around, around the time when Donald Trump was elected, but so many of these things, this one, this one, this one, Snap, change your personality in 3 days. This one, Safe, Debt-Free, and Rich. This one, the Magnesium Miracle, right? This one, the Secret Life. This one, the Vitamin Cure. Just on and on and on. Example after example of how these large companies were borrowing these bestsellers, these different, and I call them bestsellers in quotes. They're really just borrowing books, and they're leveraging the nuances that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit. And they're using these things to acquire new customers. And the interesting part, the thing that really kind of, I really kind of was like, wow, this is amazing, is that none of these companies own these books, right? None of these companies own these books. They didn't write them. They didn't invest any time creating them, and they don't have any special deal with any of the authors or publishers. They are simply borrowing these books. And here is what I saw in this opportunity that made me say, I want to create a campaign, which we're gonna take a look at. You're gonna understand why I chose the book that I did and whatnot to kick off my first time using this model. I saw that this was a beautiful marketing opportunity, and I want you to understand why. Number one, there's no writing or product creation, right? And so if there's zero product creation, you don't have to write anything, you don't have to create anything, you don't have to design anything. It's already been done for you. Number two, you have a sellable product instantly, meaning that, right, you don't have the delay in time or the opportunity costs in creating a product. You have a product that is ready to go to market, that is actually going to market. And if you choose the book properly based on what it is that I'm going to share with you, you have a sellable product instantly. In other words, a product that's got market appeal already done and waiting for you. You already have the instant credibility of a published book. And when I say you have the instant credibility, I mean the offer that we're gonna create, we're gonna engineer to sell this borrowed book. It's already built in to this published book. Now, depending on the book that you choose, you might also have additional credibility in the author, right? And so if you choose a book by a famous author, a popular author, then you immediately leverage the credibility of that author as well as the credibility of a published book. Of course, right? You've got the positioning of an established expert, especially again, depending on what type of book you choose. This was a biggie for me, and I'll explain to you how I leveraged this with my first borrowed bestseller campaign. There's PR and buzz that's already created for you. So as we'll talk about in just a little bit, if you borrow a book that's brand new, that's just hitting the market, let's say now, let's say you were borrowing a bestseller or you're borrowing a book that was hitting the market today, and it's from a fairly popular author at an even decent publishing house, there's going to be PR and buzz that's already being created by the publisher to sell the book. And you get to piggyback off of that PR and buzz that's already being generated for you. Most of the copy is already written by professional copywriters. So lots of bullets, lots of endorsements, description of the book, all those things are done, are written. You can tweak it, but you're starting with this foundation. Gives you an ocean of buyers. I say an ocean of buyers in this context because really you've got the ability to acquire a much wider scope of prospects when using a book because of how many people like to read, because of the quantity of people that buy books. And you get to keep every single dollar while you're adding new customers to your own list that you then can sell over and over and over. Remember, what we're talking about here with the borrowed bestseller campaign is a customer acquisition campaign, a campaign designed to acquire new customers. you know, you've heard me say many times before, in this game, the profit is made in the back end, right? So we've got front end and we've got back end. Front end is all about mass customer acquisition. It's all about acquiring the most amount of new customers that we can, right, at a reasonable cost. The back end is all about reselling them, delivering more and more value, which is where all of your profit in your business is. And so what we're talking about here is, look at this. I looked at this and I said, what would make this a better marketing opportunity? No product creation, a sellable product instantly, instant credibility of a published book, the positioning of an established expert, PR and buzz that's already been generated, most of the copy already written, a whole ocean of buyers, and you get to keep every freaking dollar of every sale while you're adding new customers to your list that you can then plug into your back end marketing. It's a beautiful freaking thing if you really think about it. Now, it's super simple. It's a very basic campaign, the bestseller campaign. You're going to see it consists of a sales page, and you can use either a VSL or short form copy or a hybrid. So depending on your skill set, your core competency, if you find it quicker, easier for you to create a VSL, you can go with a VSL page. If you find it quicker, easier to go with a short form sales page, you can go with a short form sales page. If you want to do a hybrid of VSL and short form, you can do that as well. What I will tell you is, just as a side note, is anytime you write a script for a VSL, and my recommendation is that you should always script out your VSLs. I never used to script them out, and then I started scripting them. I started one day scripting them, and I never went back to not, right? And I'm somebody that can pull off, I believe I can pull off reasonably well, off the cuff, good marketing, good presentations, but there's absolutely no comparison between doing it off the cuff and scripting it. I share that with you in this context because one of the things that you should always do is, once you've scripted it, once you've written the VSL script, that VSL script should be turned into a long form sales letter. Right? And the reality is that 99% of your long form sales page will be identical to the VSL script. Literally 99% of what you put on that long form sales page can be identical to the VSL script. And so if you create a VSL, there's almost no reason not to test it against a long form sales letter, because the hard part is already done, which is the script. And then, of course, there's no reason why you shouldn't test it against a hybrid version where you've got the VSL at the top of the sales letter, right? Because the hardest part, once you've done the VSL script, then it can be repurposed multiple different ways. And so the way this campaign breaks down, very simple, straight to sales page. There is no opt-in before this because this is typically a lower ticket offer, and so it's unnecessary to roll with an opt-in. I do recommend that you do a two-step. So that means that on the sales page, on the sales page, when they click the add to cart button, a pop-up appears, and then there is step 1 of 2, and they enter their name and email, and then they get brought to the order page. This is just so that we can follow up with them via email. Then on the order page, straight up order page, we'll talk about one little addition later, and then you've got a standard upsell, and then you've got a thank you page. That is it. Okay, super duper simple. Now, the thing that I was also really blown away by was that there are topics, there are books on different topics galore, you name it. So like I said earlier, I don't care what market you are in or what you are selling, there is a book out there on that topic that you can use. Health, finance, business, dieting, fitness, gardening, marketing, time management, personal development, psychology, relationships, persuasion, politics, goal setting, magic, even cookbooks. And look, I want you to imagine, like, look, there are things that if you sold, if you were selling lawn care services where you go out and you mow people's lawns, right? You could sell a book on gardening, a book on, removing weeds, a book on watering your lawn. Like there are things that you can books, topics that you can use that will identify your target market. But it's amazing how many books there are out there that you can use. Now, so we're on the same page. What I want you to understand is that really when I say borrow the bestseller, really what I'm talking about is we are buying these books. We are kind of really, we're picking up books from what are called remainder houses. Often just think of it as a wholesaler of books, and then we are reselling them. And so what you'll find is that there are books that you can buy for as little as 50 cents, all the way up to, call it $3, $3.50, right? Many of these books that are currently selling on Amazon for $18, $20, $21, $15. It's nuts, where you can buy it for $1, $1.10, $1.25, $2.20, right? And so you can go and you can buy it for $2.20. And then you can sell it, and you'll understand how to sell it in just a second. The resource that I like, that I tend to use most often, what I call the secret source, is Book Depot. Book Depot. Now, there are a lot of other remainder houses. If you go and you search Google, if there's, for some reason, you can't find a book at Book Depot that you want to borrow and use for your marketing, you can just Google remainder house or remainder books, and you'll find a whole bunch. And, oftentimes they'll get an extra 200, 300, sometimes 400, or more copies of a particular book, and they're blowing them out. Right? So they're all new, brand new, but they are blowing them out. And sometimes you'd be shocked at the popularity of the authors. You could see you could see you could see over here, John Maxwell, another John Maxwell book. This one's $2.50. This one's $1.50. Here's Dr. Oz, a $3 book. Atkins, $2.50. J.J. Virgin's book. This one's 50 cents right here. J.J. Virgin's book. Penn Jillette, $2.25. Like it just goes on and on. It's really crazy. There are books from the Sharks on there. What's his name? Dr. Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful, Robert Herjavec's book. Like it's amazing how, all you got to do is just search a little bit. And so this is the source. Now, here are the keys to this campaign. I want you to pay attention. There's a reason why there's a little gold dollar sign, dollar symbol in the bottom right, because this is the money page. This is the single most valuable page, or slide, I should say, in this training. And so pay attention. These are the keys right here to making this campaign work. And then, like I said, we're going to dive in, and I'm going to show you an example of the very first campaign that I launched using this. So number one is I recommend that when possible, you borrow a new book. And you'd be surprised. Like I said, there are books selling for $15, $18, $20, $22 on Amazon that you can borrow for $3, for $2.50, for $3.50. It's crazy. The reason why I recommend that you go with a new book when possible is for two main reasons. Number one is the leveraging of PR and buzz that's out there, or that's being created, or that was recently created. And so you want to leverage existing buzz. So hypothetically, just for argument's sake, if there was an old book that appeared in the news, appeared in the media, or that people started talking about, or hypothetically, if a very popular author was about to release a second book, their second book in the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I might go back and look to see if I can get, if I could borrow their prior book, their first book, because again, I know that there's going to be buzz and PR around that particular author. And so I can at least leverage that buzz and PR around that existing author, excuse me, to promote their original book. But the other reason why, and this is so valuable, the other reason why I recommend you go with a new book is because when it's a fairly popular author, a fairly large author, they are typically in book tour mode. And so they are looking for opportunities to go on podcasts, to do interviews, to get the word out about their book. And so it gives you an opportunity to reach out to that author and ask them if you can interview them. You'll see how I did that in just a little bit, and you'll see why that is enormously valuable. And so understand that if there was ever a time that you wanted to interview an author, when they just release a book is ideal, because they are on the hunt for media opportunities. They are on the hunt. They're in that book tour, virtual book tour mode. And so they are on the hunt. And so they're almost always insanely receptive to doing that because, like I said, they're just looking to promote. And so look for a new book when preferable, or a book that is, like I said, a book that an author that is out in front of the audience. Next is, of course, you're looking for alignment of content. So we're not talking about just picking any book, picking any bestseller, picking any new book. We're talking about a book that is on a topic that provides content that would be of interest to your market. So it needs to be a book about content, about a topic that is of interest to your market. Not only so that you can sell it, of course, but so that the customers that you acquire, the customers that buy the book, are perfectly aligned with your back end. So you want to make sure that there's alignment of content between the book that you're borrowing and what it is that you are talking about or presenting, what your core offers are about. If you're selling lawn care services, right, odds are we're not going to be choosing a cookbook to sell, to borrow as part of your bestseller campaign. So you're looking for alignment of content. You're also looking for, ideally, right, you're looking for compelling content. And so you want to, I always hunt for something like, I don't want a book, just like we've talked about before when it comes to promoting your product or service. People want unique, people want different, people want fresh, people want timely. And so when I'm looking at different books to borrow, I'm looking for, is there an angle? Is there something unique? Is this compelling content? Like, can I make a legitimate marketing argument for this particular content? Even if the author, even if this wasn't coming from, let's say, a well-known author, and maybe it may not come from a well-known author, but even if it wasn't coming from a well-known author, if it was in an info product, is it something that I feel has compelling enough content that I can create an exciting marketing campaign around? Because you don't want, right, like you've heard me say before, you don't want to try you don't want to take the ordinary, typical, run-of-the-mill, nothing special about what's being shared in the book and then try to make it sound great. That's not only extremely difficult, but you don't want to put yourself in that kind of hole from a marketing perspective. So compelling content. Number 4 is, if there are good Amazon reviews, even better. It's great if there are good Amazon reviews because we can repurpose those, right? So we can repurpose those. Also, as you'll see in just a minute, if somebody happens to go to Amazon and they look for the book to see what the reviews are, and you'll understand why we're okay with them going to Amazon to look in a second. We want them to see good reviews. We don't want them to see bad reviews. So I look for a book that potentially has good reviews so that I can repurpose and reuse the good reviews. And you'll see a little bit later how I did that. as well, because I don't want bad reviews to stop somebody from, right? Because if they might just go to Amazon, look at the reviews. If it's bad reviews, then they're not going to go ahead and get the book from us or Amazon. Next is I want the fulfillment cheaper than Amazon. Meaning, if Amazon is selling the book for $15, I cannot sell the book for $15, right? So if Amazon is selling it for $15, you have to be less. And often I'll tell you, and I haven't tested this, but I would tell you, make it significantly lower. Like, in other words, if Amazon is selling it for 15 and you sell it for 14, I can tell you that most reasonable people still go with Amazon, because for the dollar benefit, why would they risk going with an unknown seller when they can just get it from Amazon, right? It's kind of like, I'll pay the extra $1 to order something from Amazon because of the insurance, right? The assurance that I have ordering from Amazon, knowing that I can return it if I've got any kind of problem or any kind of issue or, right, or whatnot. And so I want it substantially or significantly cheaper. So ideally, like, and ideally if Amazon was selling it for 15, if I could sell it for 10 or $9.99, that's a significant difference to the average individual. It might only be $5, but it's a significant difference in price. It's, you're talking, call it 33% less than retail. And so it's a beautiful thing. That is a very important thing. If you try to do this strategy, if you try to execute a bestseller campaign and you are not cheaper than Amazon, you are dead in the water. Really, all you will do, if you don't do this step and the next one that I'm about to explain, all you will do is create business for Amazon with your bestseller campaign. You will literally convince people to buy, convince people of the value of the book, and they'll go over to Amazon and order it. So all you'll be doing is drumming up business for Amazon. So fulfillment, cheaper than Amazon. That's the beauty of something like a Book Depot, that, right? You might see a book on Amazon that's only $9, but on Book Depot, you might find it for $2. Right? It's a beautiful thing. You add in shipping, right? Maybe it's $4 now. You could sell it for $4, and Amazon's still selling it for $9. And you've got the ability to do a ride along with the book, blah, blah, blah. So fulfillment cheaper than Amazon. Next is, this is money right here, is you want to include extra compelling content or an extra compelling piece or component to the offer that's not available anywhere else, that they can't get anywhere else. And so the way that I want you to think about this is, I want you to think things like the unpublished chapter, the never before released interview, right? That's why I said that, like, a new book where the author is in media tour, book tour, virtual book tour mode is a great thing, because then you could jump on with them and you can interview them, and then you could include that interview with the book. And so now it slides things in your favor even more, because on Amazon, they're going to go and buy the book for whatever it is, $15, and just get the book. But with you, they could go and for $9.99, they get the book and they get this, they get the interview. You also think about creating a cheat sheet or some kind of, you could create have created a mini set of cheat sheets. Depending on what the book is about. You can do your book notes included with the like, you can do something in Evernote, and then you just include your book notes. If you do a call with the author, you can have it transcribed, and so you've got like an audio, you've got a transcript, you've got cheat sheets. You end up taking this thing and turning it into, and very easily into some assets for you. Adding these extra little components should take you no more than a half day, literally no more than a half day. But this is this is extremely important because, again, what we want to do is we're accomplishing two things here with this step. Number one, we're making the offer a no-brainer, right? By like slanting, the price to value. And we're also ensuring that somebody doesn't go and order from Amazon. We're okay if they go over to Amazon to look at the reviews, but we want to make the value prop, like we want somebody to say, why would I order this from Amazon when it's so much more, it's more money, and I get a fraction of what I can get when I order from, this other company. Next is we're going to have an order form bump offer, which I'm going to show you a unique type of order form bump or a unique offer that you can include if you really want to go the distance. And then, of course, a congruent, compelling upsell offer. And so these are the keys to the bestseller campaign. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This is an example of the very first bestseller campaign that I created. And I did this for Robert Cialdini's Persuasion book, so not his original Influence. You can't see what this page looks. I'm gonna break this out. I'm gonna show you this piece by piece. The reason why I put this full screenshot on this slide for you was because I wanted you to see how short this page is. Right? This is the thing that you'll see in a second is above the fold. Then I had a VSL section. Now I use this to launch and promote a continuity program, a brand new newsletter a number of years ago. And so that newsletter got introduced right down here. Right? And then here's the call to action section. So this is above the fold, summarizing the offer. This is the VSL and I'm going to break this down for you, what I did here, how simple this is. And then the continuity, and then the call to action section at the bottom. Very, very simple, straightforward page. So above the fold, there's a couple things that I want you to be aware of. So listen to me carefully here so you understand the psychology of why I went with this book and why I did what I did. So I had heard, whatever it was a couple of years ago, I had heard that Dr. Cialdini was coming out with a new book. Now, I also knew that in the marketplace that I operate in, which is, marketing and entrepreneurship, business development, I knew that there was already a small cult following of Dr. Cialdini. Lots of people already talk about Dr. Cialdini's original book, Influence. They talk about his psychological triggers. We talk about reciprocity and commitment and consistency and liking and scarcity and all that stuff. And so I knew that there was already a built-in appreciation for Dr. Cialdini in our marketplace. And I knew that lots of people, like I said, have recommended over the years Dr. Cialdini's book, Influence. So the thought that, wow, he's got a new book coming out, I believed that there was going to be a lot of buzz about the book. I believe that people in our market were going to be talking about it. I believe that that there was going to be just a lot of built-in buzz and excitement about the new book. I believed that people were going to start talking about how Robert Cialdini's book was, his new book was going to be released soon and how it was going to be a home run, blah, blah, blah. And I also believe that because of Dr. Cialdini's stature and his status and the publisher that he was working with, I knew that they were going to do a lot of marketing, a lot of PR for this book. And so I knew that a lot of money was going to be put into kind of a pre-launch buzz for the book. And then certainly when the book was launched, I knew that they were going to put in a lot of money to PR. I also knew that Dr. Cialdini was going to be doing lots of videos, lots of audios, things that if I wanted to promote the book, things that if I wanted to, I could leverage and excuse me. And so I said, man, I want to offer this, I want to offer this book. And so what I did was I then went and I reached out to Dr. Cialdini. Now, this was before the book was released. So it was about to be released. And I think once I finally reached out to Cialdini's office, like in 2 weeks or something like that, that's kind of insignificant. But now I had no relationship with Dr. Cialdini. I had zero relationship with him, with anybody on his staff, with his publisher. You know, Dr. Cialdini didn't know who I was. Like, believe me, there's zero relationship, zero credibility with Dr. Cialdini. And I reached out and I let his office know that I wanted to promote Dr. Cialdini's book aggressively. I explained to them what it is that I wanted to do. And I asked if he would be willing to get on and participate in an interview with me on the phone. And so, mind you, right, I told them two things. One, I knew that Dr. Cialdini was going to be in promotion mode. And so, right, I knew that he'd be apt to do it. Also, the fact that I was like, hey, I want to promote his book aggressively. I want to buy a bunch of copies, blah, 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 all this. I knew that they were gonna love hearing that. So those two things made me confident that he was going to be willing to do it. I didn't say anything about like the size of our list or our following or anything like that. So I don't want you to think that you need that in order to get these opportunities. And so long story real short, they agreed fairly quickly, fairly easily. And so what I did was I got Dr. Cialdini on the phone. And basically I interviewed him, and I interviewed him obviously about persuasion for like 45 minutes or something like that. I chose not to do the typical interview. Like I wasn't like, you know, I didn't ask him questions about like researching the book. Like I asked questions that were like, how did you how do you apply persuasion to online marketing? It was actually really good. And, you know, like, how do you apply this principle to online marketing? How do you apply this principle to getting more sales? Like, I wanted it to be valuable for the people. All I was thinking about was why I wanted that interview. I wanted that interview because I wanted to have something extra to offer with the book, and I wanted that extra thing to be valuable to the market. And so I just steered the questions in the interview the way that I wanted. And then all I did was, right, so I got an I got a preview copy of Persuasion, and I just asked for one. I said, can I, you know, I'd like to be able to, I'd like to be fully prepared. Can you, you know, can you send me I told his team, can you send me, you know, an early copy? And they did. And so I went through the whole, you know, I went through the whole book. And what I did was, like I told you guys, I took notes, my own notes. And so I put all those notes in in Evernote, I believe it was, or maybe it was Pages. I don't remember, you know, but I had like 17, 18 pages of typed notes. And so, so I included that. I included the audio of my call with Dr. Cialdini, and I included the transcript of the call. Now, just as a side note, right? I didn't say interview. Like I said, an audio recording of the private phone call between Todd and Dr. Cialdini discussing the marketing applications of Persuasion in 2017, right? So you're presenting it as, you're couching it, you're framing it as in the most compelling way possible. And this became our offer. And then what we did was we gave it for free when people took a subscription to our newsletter, and then we just had them pay for shipping. And I believe we tested it all the way up to $16.95 shipping, and the $16.95 shipping won. And so that's where we ended. But what we did was, to launch this, we actually gave this for free, and we gave the first month of the newsletter for free. And all they had to do to get this was just pay, you know, the $16.95 shipping. This was the VSL, right? And you're going to see in just a minute, I'll break down the VSL for you. Very, very simple structure. You know, I'll give you the, whatever it was, 8 kind of steps or 8 core chunks to the VSL. Super duper simple. This was the next section, conversion snaps, promoting the newsletter. right? What they got. We also included for them, right? They got the monthly Conversion Snaps newsletter. They got the companion video that went with it every month, and the Conversion Snaps book. And this was the bundle, and they just paid shipping and handling, and then they got, it was 14-day trial for this bad boy. Now, let me break down the VSL for you so that this is how simple this VSL, this structure really is of this page. So I started out establishing Dr. Cialdini's authority and credibility, right? So even though I didn't want to assume that everybody knew who Dr. Cialdini was, because there's a huge portion of our market, new to our market, that may not be familiar with Dr. Cialdini. And so I started off by establishing his credibility, right? So the fact that he came out with a new book is only valuable when you know who Dr. Cialdini is. And so I gave his background, and I explained how the market, there's a cult following, and how his first book has impacted so much of what it is that we've done as marketers, as online entrepreneurs, and so on. And so I took the first little chunk and I established his authority and his credibility so that people wanted to learn from this guy. Then I established the value of the book. And what I did was, and this is one of the things that you're going to want to do, is when I went through the book, I not only took notes, because I wanted to include the notes as part of the additional offer, but I also went through it as if I was a copywriter, and this was a book that I was hired to promote. And so I was constantly noting down benefits that I was going to use, that I was going to turn into bullets so that I could share, and here's just some of what you'll find in this book. And then bullet, 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 bullet. In chapter 3, you're going to bullet, bullet, bullet. Later in the book, bullet, bullet, bullet. And so I just loaded it on. I went through with the same kind of, wearing the same glasses, so to speak, as a copywriter hired to market and sell this book. So I built up the value, the authority, the credibility of the author. Then I built up the value of the book. And then I established the value of the extra add-ons. In this case, the extra add-ons so now I'm building up the value of my call and what was shared on the call. And I'm building up the value of all of those gems, right? And I'm doing the same thing. Again, bullets. On the call, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this. Not only that, but as a marketer, I took 17 pages of notes through the book through the lens of what will I do differently in my marketing based on this. I cover things like this, right? So I go through, establish the author's authority, credibility, establish the value of the book, establish the value of the extra add-ons. And then in this case, for this offer, then I established the value of the subscription. So it was only after I established the authority of the author, the value of the book, the value of the extra add-ons, did I then segue into, and the beauty is that you're going to get all of this for free when you take a subscription to LMNOP. Let me tell you what this will do for you. And then the value of the subscription, it was the same thing. Bullet, bullet, a benefit, bullet, boom, 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 boom. So really, over those last 3 chunks, the value of the book, the value of the extra add-ons, and the value of the subscription, they were just being peppered with benefit after benefit after benefit after benefit, with secret after secret after secret after gem after gem, just boom, 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 boom. That's not all. You also get these add-ons, boom, 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 boom. And that's not all, but you get this free today when you take a subscription to this newsletter. And in the newsletter, you're going to get boom, 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 right? So they're just being hammered. And then boom, sum this bad boy up with, I present the stacked value. So now I go back to the beginning, right? And I just said, so today, here's everything that you're going to get. You're going to get your own copy of, the legendary Dr. Cialdini's brand new book, a value of this. You're going to get the audio, the private audio call. You're going to get the transcript of that private audio. You're going to get my notes. You're going to get you know, this, boom, boom, stacked up the value. And then I give the, you know, give the call to action to buy. So that's how simple it is. That is how easy this is. Now, if you're presenting a standalone offer where like you're not gonna, you know, you're not using the borrowed book, the borrowed bestseller campaign in conjunction with a newsletter or something else, you're just gonna sell it, which is awesome. That's the newest one that we're getting ready to release is done that way. All you would do is take out that chunk right there. All you would do is take out the chunk about the subscription, and you would just go establish author authority, establish the value of the book, establish the value of the extra add-ons, then present the stack, and then call to action, and that's it. And so very, very simple, very straightforward. Now, one savvy addition that you want to consider, and this is not like, look, you do not need this to make this work. You don't need this at all to make this work. But I am a big believer in going the distance. I'm a big believer in operating with gun to the head mentality, recognizing that you know, never underestimating the task at hand when it comes to getting somebody to buy, is that one of the things that I recommend that you do or seriously consider is not only adding a bump offer to the order form. A bump offer is a simple, you know, checkbox, like they can add it to their order right then and there. But I recommend you use what I call or consider an extension bump offer. And here is exactly how we did it with the offer that you just saw. Now, mind you, before I show you this, mind you that this was doing over 50, I believe it was like 52 or 53% conversion, this bump offer. That means 52, let's make it real simple and just say 50%, 1 out of every 2 customers added this bump offer to their order. What is it? We did the unofficial Persuasion video crash course bundle. And so to show you how I eat my own cooking when I tell you to go the distance. So all I did here, so what I did was I took my notes, those 17, 18 pages, whatever it was of notes that I took, and I turned it into a slide deck. And so I just took my notes and I turned it into a slide deck, and then I recorded it, and it took me, it was about 2.5 hours. So all in total, it was a 2.5 hour course. And so what I did was we took those videos, we extracted out the audio. I believe we extracted out, we had it transcribed. We gave the slide deck, right? So now video, I created a slide deck. I recorded the video training. What was I going to say? And then we gave the handouts, we gave the audio, we gave the transcript, and we created a 1-page cheat sheet based on my notes. I think it was just a 1-page cheat sheet. And we sold it for $29. And we had, like I said, call it a 50% take rate on this. That means this bump offer added $15, just about $15 to every single order. $15 of value was contributed to every single order. Nuts, if you really think about it. If you were selling something for 15, let's say on Amazon, the book was selling for 22, and you came along and you created a bestseller campaign around the same book, and you sold it for 15 even, $15, and you added stuff, like I said, this bump offer right here would double the value of every single customer. And so it's a beautiful thing. You don't have to do this, but this is a great addition that will just drive your AOV through the roof. But there you go. That is the borrowed bestseller campaign. Very, very simple, very straightforward, continues to work like gangbusters. Every one of you can use a borrowed bestseller campaign to grow your business. And so there you have it.